What's happening, everybody? Brett Mix here, Macho Wrestling 101, and welcome to Reliving the Monday Night Wars. This is the first ever Nitro review. It's the second episode of Nitro, and the reason for that is I'm going to review the 126th episode of Raw right after. Why? Because September 11th, 1995 was the first week Raw went up to bat against Nitro. So that means that this is the first week of Nitro I review. I skipped the first Nitro because Raw was not available that night on September the 4th. But I will give you some context about what happened on that first Nitro before we get into the second episode of Nitro. I'm reviewing each week that they went head-to-head. So if they ever don't go head-to-head for a week, I won't review that. Every single week till March of 2001, I'll review. Obviously, I'll throw some pay-per-view reviews and other reviews, and it'll stick up to date with Raw, SmackDown, and PLE events. So hit like and subscribe if you like that kind of thing. But I also am going to do the history of wrestling, and I'm also going to be doing Nitro and Raw. Every week they went head-to-head, starting with Nitro from September 11th, 1995, from the Knight Center in Miami, Florida. We're going to kick this off. Commentators were Steve McMichael, Eric Bischoff, and Bobby Heenan. For some context, the first Nitro had an amazing Pillman Lager match for the Mall of America in Minneapolis. It wasn't as good as their Super Brawl 92 match, but it was still 4 stars. Bischoff wasted no time creatively making an impact as they had Lex Luger show up, a WWF wrestler at the time, and challenge the WCW champion Hulk Hogan to a match this week that we're reviewing, being the show. Also, Fall Brawl on the calendar was this Sunday on pay-per-view from the Nitro I'm reviewing. The all-time record for Raw Nitro, I'm going to keep track, win column, Raw, Nitro, and draws. So it's going to be win, loss, draw. And I won't make anybody wait for the rating. The rating for this Nitro was a 2.4. And Raw this week, that went head-to-head, was a 2.5. So a 0.1 difference. Raw got the victory over Nitro this week. But let's get to the Nitro that loses by 0.1 in the first week head-to-head. Pyros go off, and the first ever Nitro is inside an arena, as the last Nitro took place inside the Mall of America, as I mentioned. WCW want to waste no time at all showing wrestlers they bought from WWE and ECW with WWF and ECW with Sabu here, as the first match was Sabu and Alex Wright. It was Sabu's WCW debut. Raw opened their broadcast with Razor Ramon versus the British Bulldog, and Bischoff knew this, because the 126th Raw that I'm going to be reviewing after this Nitro, the one that went head-to-head on September 11th, 1995 with this Nitro, it was pre-taped from August 28th. So Bischoff knew that Razor Ramon faced the Bulldog in the first match of Raw, going against this match for Nitro, Alex Wright and Sabu. So he gets to book around it. So Bischoff has the advantage. Even though we lost the first Raw by 0.1, as I mentioned, I'll be giving you all the ratings in future Raw Nitro videos before. You're not going to have to wait till the end of the review to get the rating. You can look it up, of course, too, but instead of looking it up, you'd just rather me tell you, right? Well, you don't have to wait till the end. I'll give it to you guys right off the bat. And if you want to hear the rest of the results, you can. And if you don't want to, and you just want to rewatch the show, you can too. This would be a good chance for anybody to go back and relive the wars if they want to on the WWE Network or Peacock or whatever it's called now. As I do the reviews. So consider doing that if you haven't seen them in a while, or if you haven't seen them, period. So, again, some context for this event has already been mentioned, and they're on the road to Fall Brawl. Alex Wright and Sabu got it on. Arm drag takedown into a single leg takedown by Sabu. You can't keep up with it play-by-play with his maneuvers. He's just flying everywhere. A springboard face drop and a hurricane run to the outside. A baseball slide, a springboard plancha over the top rope to Alex Wright. He sets up a chair and then jumps off outside, but he ate the guardrail as Alex Wright moved out of the way after he springboarded himself off a chair and did a diving leg hit. He went with his diving legs in the air, so a cross body of sorts, and he hits the barricade wall as Alex Wright jumped out of the way. Alex Wright, the German sensation, was just 20 years old at the time. He took a suplex and then a suicidal Sabu, landed shots connecting with a missile drop kick off the top. Alex Wright with a baseball slide and a flying crossbody over the top rope to Sabu, so Alex Wright showing his aerial offense as well. It's not just Sabu. Crazy good action in this match. Alex Wright with a top rope superplex. If it was 1995, I know what channel I'd be watching between the two. See, I never got Nitro in 1995. Being in Canada, we didn't get Nitro until early 1998. So we had to watch WWF. This is only the second time I'm seeing these episodes, because I've gone back and watched the Nitros before. But this is the second time I'm seeing these episodes and these reviews from this point forward. Sabu off the top with the head scissors. Sabu caught a German suplex and then an Arabian facebuster, and he covered Alex Wright for the victory at 3:58. So Sabu continued to beat on Alex Wright after the match. Sabu then grabbed a table post-match and sets Alex Wright on the table. Sabu drove himself off the top rope, through the table, through Alex Wright. In the end, Alex Wright ended up winning by TQ at 3:58 after Sabu DQs himself. So the referee reverses the decision. Sabu already had won, but he drove himself through the table after the match, and the referee reversed it, and Alex Wright wins by DQ. Fun little match under 4 minutes. It was a crash and bang sprint type of a match. I rated 2 stars and 3/4. I could have rated it 3 stars. It was close to that. It was a really good match for the time it got. Now it's time for the first promo on the second Nitro, and it's the Nature Boy Ric Flair with Mean Gene. Mean by God, Gene. They do a promo right at the front entrance stage. One thing that was cool about WCW is they didn't go to the middle of the ring all the time. They went just for the front of the stage for promos. It's a decent idea. Sometimes WWE does that, but that's not their forte. It's not what they're usually up to. So Sting versus VK Wall Street is the second match. I should say that Flair in the promo talked about his feud with Arn Anderson, because they meet at Fall Brawl. So he just promoted the match against Arn, his old Horseman buddy. Next up, we have Sting defending the U.S. title against VK Wall Street. VK Wall Street is IRS for the WCW United States Championship. Sting is in his surfer Sting, obviously, at this time. Bischoff gives the Raw results for the first time ever during the entrance of VK Wall Street, as he says, "Don't bother tuning into the other company. It's tape. Michael wins over Sid," and so on. I'm paraphrasing. Crafty move from Eric there. Wall Street with a big chance to win gold. The Firemen's take over to Sting. Sting with a combination aerial attack and a flying drop kicks sends VK Wall Street into the corner. Sting through the ropes as VK Wall Street buys himself some time as he threw them to the shoulder first, to the turnbuckle, or the Irish whip. Bischoff says on commentary that Luger's coming to the WWF won't be the last person coming from the WWF. So he's foreshadowing. I don't know if he knew that Hall and Nitro. I didn't know if he knew Hall and Nash were going to come to Nitro at this time. It's September of 1995, but he definitely had other moves up his sleeve. Says Sting with a springboard forearm shot, Sting with a reverse elbow, VK Wall Street with a sunset flip against him, but Sting kicks out. He reversed him by bashing his head into the buckles 8 times. Sting dropped VK Wall Street with a number of blows before a clothesline and a knee to the corner. Sting with a Stinger splash in the corner. Sting, the U.S. champ, with a flying crossbody off the top, pinning VK Wall Street at 4:13. I gave it a star and 3/4. A nice little match, but it just went 4 minutes, and it wasn't as action-packed as the first match, even though the action was still good. They say that the debut of Disco Inferno happens this Saturday on WCW Saturday Night. Well, it's a good thing I'm not reviewing that show, but there were some gems on WCW Saturday Night, so I can't bash it completely. Next up, we got Randy Savage, the Macho Man, versus Scott Norton. Scott Norton is a future NWO member, as was Savage. At first, he's going to take on Mr. Slim Jim, the megastar at the time. The Macho Man is the fans' pop big time, probably the biggest pop of the night so far. Norton jumped him. Obviously, Macho Man is the most established star that's come out yet, even more so than Sting at the time, and maybe even after the time too. I don't know whose star brought shinier. Was it Sting or the Macho Man? It's a close call. It'd be up for debate. Anyways, this match up here, Norton really worked his power game against Savage, who tried to jump off the top with a double axe handle over and over. Norton catches him with a bear hug, squeezing the ribs. Macho chants as he's down on the mat, and Scott Norton really worked on the core of Savage here. All of his offense implemented against the back of Savage. A backbreaker by Norton, knees to the back, several moves to the back, clobbering blows, hurting the ribs more, a bear hug, a body slam, a power slam to the canvas floor hard. Macho Man kicks out. Bischoff wonders where Savage is getting it from, and a shoulder block off the top ropes by Norton to the Macho Man on the outside. Macho has the fans on his side, but he hasn't given up due to Norton destroying his back, but not his spirit. Now a suplex back into the ring turned into a DDT while Macho Man was half over the rope at the time. Norton up top waiting for Macho to get up, but Savage countered it into a brainbuster to buy himself time. Savage with a knee to the back this time and lays out Wright's hands. Savage in control until the Dungeon of Doom come out, and Savage with the top rope elbow despite the Dungeon of Doom, and Macho comes back to win the match. Kevin Sullivan, Avalanche, and others are out here, as is Mang, the Zodiac, and others. So Macho Man won at 5:39. I rate the match 2 stars. And it was a good match where he worked on Savage's back, but Macho came back and won it in good underdog fashion. He wasn't an underdog in the match, but he was an underdog considering all the brave work Norton had beaten. Savage was just such a good seller that it looked like Savage was going to be out of the match, but he came back in it. So this is where the big boys play. That's what we hear about a million times in the first year or two of this show. Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart defends his World Heavyweight title against Lex Luger. Last week on Nitro at the end, they both challenged each other. Luger said he was sick of playing with boys in the WWF, and he wanted to play where the big boys play for the only world title that matters, the WCW title. I don't know if they should have put it that way, but they could have talked about how it's the longest reigning world title in the history of wrestling. That would have brought it more prestige. And I'm sure they do that in later weeks, but that would have been a better line. Lex Luger ties up with Hulk in the corner. Hogan hit him with a drop throw hold and a front face lock, showing some good wrestling. Fans chanted for Luger. Luger with a standing side headlock, wearing Hulk down. Luger bails out as Hogan started gaining the upper hand and follows him in with a leapfrog and then a back body drop to Hulk. Bischoff takes more shots at the Diesel being WWF champion and how he could barely pass mid-card status in WCW. A torture rack here by Luger hit Hogan with bad... hit from Luger to Hogan. Hogan with a bad pack thinks he's won the gold, but he only dropped his arm twice. So Luger thinks he won the gold, I should have said, in the torture rack, but Hogan's arm only dropped once, and then it dropped twice, but Hogan then got it at the 3, just barely. Hogan says no and hulks up on Luger. He hits him with shots and lands the rights, and then the big boot, and then the leg drop, but then there's interference from Zodiac and the Dungeon of Doom, just like with Savage, but this time, Luger and Hogan couldn't finish the match, unlike Savage, who hit the elbow drop for the victory in his match. So in the end, at DQ at 5:28, Hulk wins and retains the title. Macho Man and Sting preview the War Games as they battle inside the ring against the competition. I give the main event a 1.5 stars. After this, Mean Gene comes to the ring with the faces. They're in the ring. Vader doesn't qualify to be a part of the Hulkamaniacs team at War Games, so they need an extra man. And there's 4 of them in the ring, including Luger. Hulk wonders what side Luger is on. Savage asks him too. Then Sting sticks up for Luger, his buddy, because he's his buddy in real life too, and says that this is his team, but Savage says he would rather go on 3-on-4 and not be sure about Luger, because they're not sure what side Luger's on, because when the Dungeon of Doom attacked, they only attacked Savage and Hogan. They never attacked Luger. So Savage was paranoid about what side Luger was on. But Sting votes Luger onto the team. Savage respects that and asks Sting why the Dungeon of Doom didn't touch Luger. Jimmy Hart then is offended. Some good drama at the end of the second Nitro here. Hogan says yes. Savage says no. Sting says yes in the vote to have Luger in the War Games. Luger says yes. And Luger says, as long as I get my world title shot in the future from Hogan. And Savage goes, see, he has alternative motives. Well, that didn't sound like Savage, but he said, see, he has alternative motives. And that was his motive, to get a world title shot, to be on the team. So Savage didn't trust Luger. So a little bit of friction, just like they did with Becky and Charlotte before the 2023 War Games. They have the faces not trust each other a little bit. Would love to watch the War Games, but I have to do the next video has to do is Raw, because I want to follow every Nitro with Raw, and so on and so on and so forth. So this Nitro again drew a 2.4 rating on TV. It lost by 0.1 for the first week head-to-head to Raw's 2.5. My next review will be that Raw that drew the 2.5. As always, I'll do Nitro and Raw back-to-back. I'll do a lot of other reviews, not just Nitros and Raws. But if I'm ever reviewing one, I review the other back-to-back. It's always... So you might see King of the Ring Survivor Series reviews from me, but You'll always, if you see a Nitro or a Raw review, you're always going to see the Nitro or Raw review back to back. I'm never going to post a video in between the two, so it keeps the war simple. TV quality wise, when you consider that Nitro was just 1 hour at this point, I have to judge it by 1 hour. Quality over quantity. I can't rate it the same way I would a 2 or 3 hour episode. It has to be that way. They had some decent matches, a couple promos with a world title main event while leading into War Games Fall Brawl with some drama. I gave this Nitro for the 1 hour episode, and judging it by just a 1 hour episode, a 6 out of 10 for the first week. So I'm going to keep track of my record or my ratings and the record of the ratings for the television and go from there. So Nitro is 0-1, Raw is 1-0, and we'll head to that Raw review right up next. So stay tuned for the Raw review from September 11th, 95. This has been Monday Night Nitro, September 11th, 1995, with the 2.4 rating. We'll see you on the next Raw review. I'm Brett Mix. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have some fun reliving the Monday Night Wars, and I'm out.